Okay, so as I said, I've been talking about perspective, and what I wanted to show you, maybe I'll just go back and give you a little more background here. Um, as you know, most ancient civilizations left artistic works based on polygons and other things. Polyhedra, these are the three-dimensional objects, and maybe I'll just do this. Polyhedra, okay, so these are like things like, let's see. Objects like, here's an icosahedron. I can draw these things here, and you can, this is like a 12-sided polygon, polyhedra, right? So, people have, like an artist, have been trained to draw things like this on the two-dimensional space. And then Yamnitzer, Dürer, and many of these artists have practiced these things, and they're well known for developing this whole idea of perspective. You may want to study or look up, if you're interested, this artist, the Renaissance artist named Brunelleschi. And so he is famous for painting this baptistry in Florence. And this is what he did. He basically used a mirror and did an experiment with the people who were walking by, and he challenged the people to look through this little hole to see if his image is exactly the same as what he drew. You can see the vanishing points here. There are many vanishing points, but they're all on this one line. This is the horizontal line I was talking about, okay? All right, I will move through very quickly. And this is the visual pyramid I was referring to, okay? And if you look at this from where your eye is, this is what you will see. Now, this is a vanishing point, okay? And if you look at this floor, it's going to look like that, right? So again, let me just illustrate this. All the lines parallel, but they're all perpendicular to the canvas, would not be parallel anymore in your picture, but instead they all meet at this principal vanishing point, okay? So then you will have some practices or problems where you are to do things like this. So, try to, maybe you need a ruler, but you need to be able to do a drawing like this for your practice. Same thing here, you have a vanishing point, and this is like sort of a typical when you do a drafting or architect drawing. You also see a vanishing point here where all these lines parallel in real life but perpendicular to the canvas will all meet at that one single point. Okay, so these are called the properties or laws of perspective. Farther things, of course, appear smaller. And by the way, the color is also fading away as you go far away. All parallel lines meet at the vanishing point, okay? All parallel lines that are not necessarily perpendicular to the canvas merge at the vanishing points. All such vanishing points lie on one line, and that is called the horizon line or the eye level. All right, and so here's a picture of that again. Now, what I was telling you about the lines that are parallel but not necessarily perpendicular or parallel to the canvas. Okay, so these are the lines that are parallel in real life, right? In the real space, but they are not perpendicular to the canvas nor parallel to the canvas. So what's going to happen is they all merge at a point, not the principal vanishing point. This is the principal vanishing point, right? Principal vanishing point is the point where all lines perpendicular, let me see, all lines perpendicular to the canvas, such as these blue lines, will meet. Okay, but all these other parallel lines will meet at some vanishing points. Okay, it's just not called the principal vanishing point, and all these vanishing points will be all on the same line, the horizon line, okay? So these are the properties of perspective, right? So you will get to practice a drawing like this. This is exactly the same drawing you see in the notes. And so you can also see something similar here, all right? And the famous painting, one of the most famous paintings from the Renaissance period and from the history of art is The Last Supper. And if you look at these lines, I hate to actually draw on top of a masterpiece, but all of these lines are parallel to each other and perpendicular to the canvas. Notice here they all meet at the focal point, the principal vanishing point, And by the way, if you're in photography or art or film, you know that the principal vanishing point is where our eyes tend to flow to. And so you want to put the main subject here. And of course, the masterful work, Da Vinci actually does that, exactly that, right? He puts the main character, the theme of this picture, so to speak, on right on that spot, the principal vanishing point. Okay, and so you can see the application of the perspective. Not until Renaissance, pictures were very different. Okay, so this is a picture from an old and ancient Egyptian art. You notice there is no law of perspective or projective geometry used here. Everything is sort of flat, and it's completely different from what we see. Okay, so here's another picture. This may be from Yamnitsky or Dürer or one of those people. But you notice here, for instance, these lines here, they meet at this point. All of these lines are parallel to each other, and they meet at this point. This line and this line are parallel, and they meet at some point here. These lines are parallel to each other, and they meet at this point. All of these vanishing points, notice here, are on the same line, okay? And this happens to be the principal vanishing point of this picture, because this is where, maybe I should color this differently, the lines that are parallel to each other and perpendicular to the canvas, okay, would all meet at this point, okay? So this is the principal vanishing point right here, right? So again, and now knowing this, of course, once you know the rules, you can sort of use the rules or play with the rules to do something silly. All right, so this is one of those silly things here. The farther things are supposed to get look really small, so you would think that this sailing boat is really big because it's so far away, and it turns out it's not. This is old work by Gary Larson in the series called The Far Side. Quite popular in the 80s and 90s here, right? And so that's one. Okay, and then so here is here's the first picture by Maurice Escher. And so this is, okay, you can see here's a person way out in the mountain, but somehow he is very closely associated with this woman giving light to his cigar or cigarettes. And all kinds of strange things are happening in this picture. Maybe you have seen this. This is just a playful art in perspective. Same thing here. All right, so you see something's wrong here, right? Well, which column is what? And if you look at these columns here, something strange is happening. And so this can't possibly be, but you can play with the perspective in this way. And so the same artist, Escher, does something like this, and this is called Another World #2. Here is the famous ascending and descending stairs. And these people are, one is always moving up and the other is always moving down. And there seem to be an endless set of stairs. Same thing here. Relativity is the title of this piece. Okay, so again, you can play with these things. Now, there's a famous structure in mathematics called the Mobius band. And this is a band or the strip. There is no inside and outside. If you follow this ant here crawling, you think it's outside, but pretty soon he goes inside. And if he's inside, he comes outside here and so on. All right, so this is a geometric object called the Mobius strip. And another famous thing that Escher does is to use black and white colors in a very contrasting way. If you focus on, I don't know, what are you seeing here? Do you see white birds flying to the right? Yeah, I think many of you are seeing white birds flying to the right. But if you pay attention to the black parts, then you will probably start seeing the black birds flying to the left in mass, okay? So, all right, so now we talked about Julian Beaver, and this is what he does. Okay, now what's going on here? It looks like this guy, and this guy is the artist, Julian, and his name is right here. Okay, you may have seen his works because he's rather well known around the world, and right now he's sitting on top of or standing on the top of the world, right? Or at least that's what it looks like, okay? Well, he's not. And basically from the side, this is what's happening. He was standing right here. what is going on here? I mean, there he is, right? What's going on here when he is standing here? Why does this thing look so real, right? And what he's doing is using that projective geometry, again, to illustrate, or to make things look real, right? So here's another, and I'll show you how this works. This is an incredible piece where it looks like there's a big hole here, but there's no hole. Okay, all he's doing is drawing this picture on the sidewalk itself, and it washes away easily and so on. Here's another one. Again, it looks like there's a big hole and another world below the sidewalk, but there is no hole at all. Okay, so everything that he's done here is just drawing. And here's another one, and he's got so many other things in here. Okay, and so we'll talk more. Let me illustrate and explain what he's doing here. Especially, I'm going to use this picture as our example in the next part of this presentation. Okay, so let's go to the next part.